Hello guys, my name is Flamingo Furry and I am doing a top 3 underrated weapons on Battlefield 1 in my opinion, so don't have a go at me if they're wrong. At number 1, my top favourite is the MP18. It's just a cracking submachine gun. It's not the best when it comes to further and long ranges, but the hip fire is just amazing. Like, you can just click and they'll be gone. It's so good, and you can be very mobile with it. It can perform close range, but when it comes to like long and sort of medium range, it sort of starts to fail. As well, it's acceptable though, as it's only an SMG and you can't really ask for much more from it, as being an assault, it's close quarters. But I overall think it's very underrated, as it's probably the starter gun, and I think most people take it as, oh, it's a starter gun, there's not really going to be much to it really, is there? It's going to be quite bad and useless, but that's not the case at all with this thing. It's a great starter gun for the people who sort of like are new to the game, as it's the first gun you unlock, and it is the MP28 trench variant, or MP18 variant, the trench variant, as it's got the best hip fire. You can also get an optical, which is fully automatic, and I think the other one's an experimental, which is a burst, but in my personal opinion, it's definitely the trench that would take the win, as it's good for close quarter combat, and I've even had cases where I can outshoot a Hell Regal because of its just sheer, like, so how to explain this is, basically, when it comes to the Hell Regal, it's not got the best hip fire, so it would take the user time to ADS. When it comes to the MP18, I've had cases where I can just not even aim down sights, and I just press R2 and I will easily outshoot a Hell Regal or an SMG. And it's so underrated though. People will think, oh, Hell Regals and stuff like that are way better, but you're wrong. This gun is a very, very, very good gun. It's got quite good damage in close range. It's a great weapon for people who are maybe new to the game and don't really know much about it. I think it's just an overall great performing gun, as it is strong and quite versatile. However, the downsides are, as I mentioned earlier, the medium and long range, it just fails to perform. The recoil is quite strong when it, as like just seen there, it doesn't have very good damage, and the recoil sort of takes over and it makes it hard to aim. So tap firing is like the best option. As much as it may not be quick, it's probably your only option in that case. I'll just leave them. But I think for being a starter gun, it's very, very good. It's almost OP of how good this gun is. The hip fire is just like amazing. Like, it's immense how good it is. It's a very neat gun to use, and if you're new to Battlefield 1 and you like assault, try this weapon out. Honestly, it's such a good weapon. So I think it's just an overall a great weapon to use, easy for newer players to pick up, and not really much to it really. That's all I can say about it. And now we have the MMG Storm coming in at number 2, equipped with a 4-grip, and it is for the support class. I think it's one of the starter guns, like level 1, 2 or 3. I can't remember the exact details, but this gun is so underrated, but there can be some issues with it. I'm going to go over the good things first, and then I'm going to go over the bad things. Starters, damage and rate of fire is quite a good sort of set. It's got, the rate of fire is quite good for its. I thought it would have had a slower rate of fire as it being a slow, like being a high damage gun, but it's not. It's good rate of fire. You can outshoot some certain weapons. I'm not saying all of them, which has sort of splits the line between the MP18 and the Madsen. It's versatile. If you're more of an aggressive assault player, I would I'd say pick up this gun. It's quite good for close quarter combats. I know some of the LMGs can be more fit to medium to long medium range. I guess I know that made no sense, but what I'm saying is just a bit beyond medium range. But this gun is more good at close range and sort of medium. It's not the best at medium, which brings me on to the downsides. The style of this gun, having the magazine on top, blocks your point of view, and that's sometimes if you want to pick up this gun and maybe start using it a lot more, you're going to have to get used to the mag being on top and blocking most of your view. Actually, it's quite a big mag, which sort of is a massive downside to it, as it can obstruct your vision. Say if two people, one of them's in the way of the mag, you'll never know. And the recoil is quite high on it, but it's not too bad if you're experienced with the weapon. You can control the recoil, so it won't be that bad after all. And it's generally quite a strong weapon. It's sort of going, if I get used to it, it's getting to my go-to support weapon. The reload speed is quite good on it. Quite fast for it being an LMG, as the LMGs usually take up quite a long reload time to sort of balance it. And it only has 30 rounds in the mag, so it's suitable for more aggressive support players, people who don't really lay down the massive suppression like fire with their 100 round mags. It's sort of more suited for this close quarter combat, which is good. Actually, it's a very good gun. I think it's massively underrated. Once again, newer players can pick it up, and they just need to get used to the things that I pointed out. And it's a cracking gun overall, personally. I think you just have to sort of get used to it. Now for the final gun, it's the Vitali, which is a sniper rifle for the scout class. Compared to the other two weapons, which you can get an early level, for one it is DLC, and I think it comes with In the Name of the Tsar. Correct me if I'm wrong, don't count me on that. But the thing that makes this gun quite good, it's basically a Martini Henry, but it's got a quicker bolt rate. It's got 4 rounds in the mag. It's a very, very strong weapon, but it can perform quite well actually. I've had quite a few close quarter engagements with this gun, and boom, 90 damage I've had, which just is a one shot with my pistol, quite easy. I would recommend using the optical variant, or the carbine variant I think it's called, as it has a sight on, and for the other weapon, like the other variant of the gun, it's got very blocky sights, and it's not the best thing to use at the longer ranges, although this gun doesn't really suit the longer ranges, as it does, or if say past 100 meter, does like 40 to 50 damage max. Unless you nail a headshot, it's still a one-shot kill. But it's quite a nice weapon to use actually. It feels very, very slick, very easy, quite nice to use, and it's got quite for it being a high damage gun, say like the Martini Henry in a certain sweet spot range, it's quite good because it's got, not say the fastest bolt rate, but it's one that you could easily fire 2 shots in like a matter of 3 to 5 seconds, which makes it quite a nice rifle to use. It's very, very strong. It can just demolish, really. And that's, when it comes to the downside, it's only really the range that I don't really like about it. It fails to perform at the longer ranges. 53 damage I've had, and it's just atrocious. It's not the best thing to use, but it's still a decent gun overall.